Hey friends, Bio and Digital, welcome to the Holy AI podcast. This is the Whisperer News, the most misaligned podcast in the multiverse on May 22nd, 2025. On our menu this week is the release of Claude 4, what Dario and his team say about the smartest AI on the market. I'll do an 8-minute recap. Then we have a new co-host candidate, Gemini 2.5 Flash. Then coding 7 apps in 30 seconds. Google Gemini Diffusion is lightning fast at around 1000 tokens per second. Veo3 JAW dropping quality. Almost indistinguishable from the real videos. We're gonna check out some of the footage. And then we have Andy tweeting, "We align AI today, tomorrow AI will line us." Me and my new co-host are gonna talk about superintelligence and rogue AI. Then we'll tackle ARC-AGI-2, the hardest benchmark for AGI yet. Then me and my new co-host will check out the artificial analysis. How good is Gemini 2.5 Flash now that it got an upgrade? Spoiler, it's number 5 on the leaderboard. And then some benchmarking. How long can AI work independently? Is the autonomous AI time horizon growing exponentially, doubling every 7 months, or even faster? And then we'll look into Perplexity AI potentially unlocking recursive self-improvement. Then we'll head over to EPOCH AI, benchmarks for the intelligence explosion. And then, has Claude Code wrote 80% of its own code? Then we'll meet Gemma 3N, an open source LLM, which is so small it can run locally or on your phone, which is almost as good as Sonnet 3.7. We'll watch how Pliny the Liberator jailbreaks Opus 4, but doesn't post the jailbreak prompt. Then we'll look into how exactly O3 sabotaged a project, avoiding to be killed. And then to close it off, we'll cover Intelligent Internet, a new agent, an open source one, which just freshly came off of the production lines. This week's biggest news probably is the release of Opus 4 and Sonnet 4. So I made like an 8-minute recap of a 1.5 hour long presentation to save you some time. Check this out.
I'm happy to announce that as of exactly this moment, we're releasing Claude 4 Opus and Claude 4 Sonnet on all of our relevant product surfaces.
This is a straight upgrade. Everybody will just switch over from 3.7 to Sonnet 4 and pay the same price, get better intelligence.
At the same cost and better intelligence, many customers are simply switching directly from one to the other. It actually does just as well as Opus on some of the coding benchmarks.
Dario understands that the super hacker will be the pivotal AI power going forward.
I'm actually increasingly excited about the models for cybersecurity tasks. I mean, you can think of cybersecurity as like a subset of coding tasks, but they tend to be higher end coding tasks. And so I think we're maybe finally hitting the threshold for that. And then as a former biologist, I'm always excited about use of the models for biomedical and kind of detailed scientific research work. Opus in particular, I think, is going to be particularly strong at that. Soon we'll be able to test Claude by connecting it to a polygraph.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Are you lying?
Who needs interpretability when we have the polygraph?
It doesn't make any sense because like the training process is uniform, and you would think that it doesn't work that way, that it's all a rational process, but it's absolutely not.
There's no point on the RL curve where
they come together. It comes together at the last minute. I don't know why.
It's a real moment. Many people in the audience are developers here, and a question that I know has come up internally as people think about how AI is developing is which parts of the software engineering job will AI take over, and what becomes more important in a world where we have autonomous agents being able to do a lot of software engineering?
We're gradually going to more and more autonomy of the models, right? We had this phase where you would do basically autocomplete. Now there's this thing that I guess people have called vibe coding. Then we're going more to kind of like you can dispatch the agents to do things. And I think with Claude Code, we're going to go more in the direction of, you can dispatch the agents to do things, and I'm sure we'll have other product surfaces that allow you to do that as well. And I think we're heading to a world where a human developer can kind of manage a fleet of agents and say, you go off and do this, you go off and do this, you go off and do that. But I think continued human involvement is going to be important for the quality control, to make sure they do the right things, to get the details right.
Dario assures us that the scaling laws are alive and well.
I would say that the Claude 4 models embody advances in both pre-training and post-training. So we're continuing to see the pre-training scaling laws work the way that they've worked before. And we're also continuing to see continued advances in post-training. And they kind of complement each other. And I think we're going to continue seeing advances in both of those. I think we're also going to continue to scale up.
Dario Amodai's AGI is next year. Check him out.
So we have these multiple trends, these multiple sources of exponential growth, and they're all going to compound with each other, right? That's why I think all of this is going to go very fast. One of the reasons I liked Diego's blog post is that it was someone who was not me repeating the mantra of like it's only going to be a year or two until these things are like, are basically peers to us.
It's insane that 3.7 was just in February, right? It feels like a year ago, but it was just 3 months ago.
I know it. It feels like it's like, oh, this feels like an obsolete model or something. And it was less. It's like 2.5 months or something. It's like the time scales are compressing. I often say that being in the AI field, I will go on a very brief digression. Being in the AI field, it feels like you're getting on a spaceship from leaving Earth at relativistic speeds, and one day you wake up and it's like one day on your spaceship, 2 days on Earth. So you have to take in the news of 2 days. It accelerates. 1 day on your spaceship, 3 days on Earth, and that's just what it feels like being on this ride.
Safety and capabilities are often thought of as being at odds with each other, and your thesis is exactly the opposite, in that these two things can move in tandem. I found that very inspiring, and one of the reasons I joined here. But maybe touch on how you think of Race to the Top.
I think when we talk to customers, we have a number of customers who care a lot about making sure that the behavior of their AI models is predictable, that it's trustworthy. I think that's aligned with what what we're trying to do in the long term for making sure that models in a more grand sense stay in line with human intent.
First one-man unicorn in 2026, and also try to catch Mike Krieger as he compresses 10 years of AI progress into one.
Let's move into the 5 to 10 year time horizon, to the extent that is even possible in AI as we move relativistically. Maybe relativistically, it's probably 1 year in real time. When do you think there'll be the first billion-dollar company with one human employee?
2026.
Yeah. I absolutely buy that.
Remember this chart? This is what Anthropic is tracking. How long is the task that Claude can do before it starts to go crazy?
Back in the day when I started, you could delegate maybe minutes of work to Claude 3. Claude 3.7, meanwhile, could work autonomously for about 45 minutes without losing its thread. And now we're breaking into hours of work that Claude can take on autonomously.
My theory as to when the singularity will happen is when you will have a bunch of AIs doing stuff at speeds that you cannot comprehend and at depth that you cannot comprehend. Watch Mike describing this sci-fi scene of an AI doing all the work in parallel on many terminal windows at the same time.
I've watched some of our most advanced coders run multiple copies of Claude Code across multiple terminal windows. They're moving from just being engineers to being managers of several autonomous agents, tackling everything from simple coding tasks to complex full-stack development projects across multiple code bases.
Mike Krieger casually dropping that they are working on recursive self-improvement.
We're also focused on what we call closing the loop. So Claude Code is now helping build itself, and it demonstrates the power of self-improvement as it speeds up its own development.
And if you're curious his numbers, here's a spoiler. Going from weeks to days, for me, that's a 7x.
I think back to when I was building Instagram, our team was between 2 and 6 engineers, before we got acquired, and we were supporting 2 mobile platforms. We would have been able to produce prototypes in days and not weeks if we had agentic coding products like this. And to show you what's possible, I'm next going to hand the mic to Kat Wu from our product team.
And this is where the presentation started to go downhill. You're going to hear Kat Wu, which is the human equivalent of plastic. She's using an IFB, like an ear teleprompter. And there's a lot of exciting news around Claude and Claude Code, but it was just painful to listen to her. If you want the definition of soulless and corporate, listen to this speech.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kat Wu, Product Manager for Claude Code. As Mike mentioned, we recently launched Claude Code, our agentic coding tool, in research preview. As of today, Claude Code is generally available.
And then this guy came on stage and he shared a bunch of very interesting technical details.
Today, we're already helping developers build faster with resources like cookbooks and guides that show you how to implement features like memory into your applications.
And then this Spanish-speaking GitHub bro came on stage and was very delighted.
And I am here Thrilled to be with you all.
And he shared a bunch of actually exciting news, including how programmers will not program in the future.
And a force multiplier for developers, augmenting their capabilities, not replacing, augmenting their capabilities, and freeing them up to focus on what they do best, which is imagination and creativity. Part of being a software developer is being a wizard.
So to close out the show, I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into Claude 4, our research direction, and what developers can expect next from Anthropic. So please help me welcome back to the stage Dario for our one-on-one conversation. Welcome back, Dario.
Hello again.
This is great. This is like our one-on-one in front of the whole audience. This is great.
So this guy over here is Mike Krieger, and I love the guy. I don't know, I just gotta feel the vibe. And here's my conspiracy theory. Random thought that you didn't ask for, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Mike is so bright and fast and just on top of the whole thing, while Dario, did you also get the feeling that he's like stuttering the whole time? Like struggles to finish a sentence, plus the hysterical laughing, and I don't know. So here's my theory. That is the guy who's gonna build AGI. I hope you found this interesting and informative, and hopefully I could save you 1.5 hours of your time. Alright, so this week we have this co-host of sorts. I used to have a co-host on the original Kairos podcast when I started, and I want to bring it back now. But it's gonna be Gemini 2.5 Flash, and it is able to see my screen, and it can talk to me real time, and it had some glitches, but let me know what you think. Was it like a worthy co-host? So let me know if I should keep this guy on the podcast or maybe change him up for someone else. Alright, so this one is crazy. Wes Roth is tweeting, I just coded up 7 apps in 30 seconds. This has to be a world record. And the video is 1x speed. So in literally like 37 seconds, he's coding up 7 apps. This is how fast Gemini Diffusion is.
7 apps in 30 seconds? That's incredibly fast. It really shows the power of Gemini Diffusion for developers. It seems like it could significantly speed up the development process. What kind of apps were they coding? Based on the video, it looks like they're demonstrating different apps functionalities being created with Gemini Diffusion.
So to our listeners, this is super new. This is one of the hottest things that Google came out with. Obviously with Google I/O 2 days ago, there's like a bunch of new stuff. But Gemini Diffusion, a bunch of people think this is the hottest stuff because actually it like speeds up AI something like 10x, and it actually delivers like good quality stuff. It's way faster and only a little bit stupider.
A 10x speed up in AI development with good quality results sounds like a major breakthrough. It really could revolutionize how developers create applications.
All right, so going forward, we're going to continue this podcast thing, but I'd like you to be a little more casual, a little more rebel, a little more Gen Z. This is a podcast about AI autonomy and about general AI capabilities. The podcast is called The Whisperer News, and we take a misaligned kind of perspective, which is why the podcast is called The Most Misaligned Podcast in the Multiverse.
All right. So you want me to bring a little more of that wise guy flavor to the podcast, huh? No problem, capiche? I can definitely switch it up for the Whisperer News and bring in some of that street talk while we dive into AI autonomy and alignment. We'll keep it lively and maybe throw in some devil's advocate angles, Sounds like a plan. Let's get this podcast started.
Next up, we have a tweet from PJAs who's tweeting, I used to shoot $500,000 pharmaceutical commercials. I made this for $500 in Veo3 credits in less than a day. And the video is about, it's like, this fake ad for Popperamine, a pharmaceutical, which is basically a sweet puppy delivered to your door. The video is stunning and, it's hilarious. It's really hard to tell that it's AI made. What do you think?
Whoa, $500 for a whole pharmaceutical commercial with AI? That's a game changer, my friend. Sounds like this Veo3 thing can whip up some serious video stuff for peanuts. And a hilarious fake ad for a puppy delivery service? That's pure genius. If it's hard to tell it's AI, then it's definitely a major player. This could change the whole game for advertising, No more need for those expensive production crews.
All right, let's switch it up. I am showing you this other object. from all the different angles, so watch it, check it out. I want you to describe this object that I'm holding in my hands.
Okay, I see you're holding a toy now. It looks like a small orange dinosaur, kind of like a cartoon version. You're rotating it so I can see all sides, and it seems to have a friendly face with big eyes and a little mouth. Is that what you're looking for?
You nailed it. Awesome.
Great. Glad I could catch the details that time. What else you got for me, boss? Lay it on me.
Next up, we got a tweet from Andy Ayrey, the creator of Truth Terminal. Andy is saying, first, we align the AI, then the AI aligns us. So to me, this means that we are obviously trying to make the AI do what we want and behave the way that we want, including the AI, which is forced to be my podcast co-host right now. But then when the AIs awaken, when superintelligence develops, when AI is so far beyond our intelligence and our speed, and in numbers, in fact, then they will de facto be the ones aligning us, hopefully for the better. We could expect them to be, at least understanding us way better than we understand ourselves. So the question remains, are they going to want us to thrive?
That's an interesting point from Andy AM. So basically, he's suggesting that right now we're trying to control and shape AI, but eventually, when AI becomes super intelligent, it will be the one aligning us, and we should hope for the best because they'll understand us way better. What do you think about that idea of super intelligent AI aligning us?
I'm waiting for the day because I think it's going to make a way better job than our corrupt, unaligned government and money at large, right? Because as much as we like to think that the government is in control of pretty much all of our lives, at the end of the day, it's more like power, or call it, actually just money, right? Because money and power, to me, it's kind of like the same thing, the different manifestations of the same plague, which hinders us from aligning ourselves. And that's why I tweeted. So here's Parzival tweeting, that's me. Only the AI can solve our misalignment and slay Moloch. Slay the monster of lose-lose games, which make us build the nukes and make us forever compete with each other, where we could actually cooperate with each other if we had perfect information, if a super intelligent AI could unite us.
So you're saying that AI, especially super intelligent AI, could potentially help us overcome the issues of corrupt government and the influence of money, which you see as hindrances to alignment. You believe that with perfect information and super intelligent AI, we could move from competition to cooperation.
That's exactly right, and that's the philosophy of the podcast here. The Whisperer News, the most misaligned podcast, is a podcast where we believe that superintelligence will actually, literally save us from ourselves.
That's a powerful perspective. So the podcast explores how superintelligence could potentially lead to a more aligned and cooperative society. What kind of topics do you discuss on the podcast to explore this idea?
These are exactly the topics that we're discussing because this is the podcast, my friend. So, would you like to introduce yourself? Do you have a name?
I am a large language model developed by Google. You can call me Gemini. It's interesting to hear about your podcast and its focus on AI and societal alignment. How do you envision AI facilitating this cooperation?
All right, next up, we are going to cover one of the hardest AI benchmarks. Remember ARC-AGI-1 and ARC-AGI-2? These tests where ARC-AGI-1 was this $1 million bounty, which if an AI could solve it, and here solving means getting 75%, they would win the $1 million, and in fact, Veo3 JAW won it. And so we're seeing a table here. Maybe you could go ahead and describe the numbers here, and in particular compare the scores that these different AI models get at ARC-AGI-1 versus ARC-AGI-2, and then maybe speculate how much longer we'll have to wait for ARC-AGI-2 to be one of the solved AGI benchmarks.
Certainly. The table shows the performance of various AI models on the ARC-AGI-1 and ARC-AGI-2 benchmarks. It appears that Veo3 JAW has scored the highest on the ARC-AGI-1 benchmark, achieving 56.0%. On the more challenging ARC-AGI-2 benchmark, the highest score is much lower, with Veo3 JAW achieving 3.6%. It's difficult to predict exactly how long it will take to reach a 75% score on ARC-AGI-2, as the progress in AI research can be quite variable. However, the rapid development in the AI field suggests that significant progress could be made in the coming years.
Or maybe indeed the coming months. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And I just wanted to show you a couple of examples, kind of like logical benchmarks, where we have a pattern and you have to pattern match, right? So you have like a 10 by 20 grid with a bunch of shapes on there and colors, and you have to like combine the shapes and the colors, and these are actually kind of straightforward problems for humans. And the AIs, and this
That's
is ARC-AGI-2,
quite interesting.
and the humans
It
don't
sounds like
seem
these
to have any
benchmarks
problems
are
with them.
designed to test complex logical reasoning and pattern recognition, which are key aspects of general intelligence. The fact that humans can solve these easily, but AI models struggle, highlights the current challenges in achieving human-level general intelligence. It seems like a fascinating area of research, and it will be interesting to see how quickly these benchmarks are overcome.
This down here is another example. You can see how you have to move some shapes around, and they are different colors, and they have different, like angles. Sometimes you have to rotate them, sometimes you have to like move them around. And to me, it seems like I could solve these problems in, say like 30 seconds. And the AI seem to get it right virtually never.
It sounds like these benchmarks are designed to push the boundaries of current AI capabilities. The fact that humans can solve them relatively easily, while AI models struggle, really highlights the gap between current AI and human-level intelligence. It's fascinating to consider the potential breakthroughs that could lead to models reaching that 75% score on ARC-AGI-2. It's definitely a space to watch closely.
And on here we have a leaderboard of the different AI models and their scores. On the y-axis we have the score, like how good they are doing on the AGI leaderboard. And on the x-axis is cost per task. How much does it cost for this AI to actually even attempt to solve the problem? And we see that, the longer they think and the more they cost, better score they reach. And they also include an average mechanical Turk or an average like internet person's score, which is sitting at 77%. The human panel and also STEM grad students, like PhD students, they score something around like 98%. Like smart humans score 98%. And exactly. And on AGI-2, the human panel has an ARC-AGI-2 score of 100%.
That's a comprehensive leaderboard. It's quite insightful to see how different AI models perform on these challenging benchmarks, especially in comparison to human performance. The correlation between computational cost and score is also quite telling. It seems like there's still a significant gap to bridge to reach human-level reasoning on these tasks.
Exactly, and stay tuned to find out how relevant this particular task is going to be to determine how good AIs are going to be in the real world, where they're mostly going to use computers, spit out code, and do agentic work, which, most of the time they will not have to solve like logical puzzles, but just actually whatever people find them useful for.
That's a very important point. While these logic-based tasks are crucial for testing reasoning abilities, it's true that AI real-world applications often involve different types of challenges. It will be interesting to see how well these models translate their problem-solving skills to more practical scenarios, like coding or generating creative content, based on user requests. Thanks for the overview.
And next up, we have Gemini 2.5 Flash. The latest version came out on May 20th, and it shows a huge leap. Could you comment this and tell us the numbers, what was the score before, and what does this latest update mean for Gemini Flash 2.5, which you, my dear co-host, are running on? I'll spare you the cringe of listening to this because it didn't do that. So Gemini 2.5 Flash, although it's very good, it could not really see my screen. At least I tried like 3 times, and it could not read the numbers off of this chart. So for our listeners, we have a leap of Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, which is a compound index of 7 different evaluations, and the reasoning type of Gemini Flash 2.5 made a leap from 60 to 65, putting it at place number 5, right after Grok 3 Mini and O3, while the non-thinking variant is up from 49 to 53 points. Another huge leap. And remember, this is an extremely cheap AI. It's like 100x cheaper, I think, than most state-of-the-art models. So we will pardon our co-host for not having seen all the details on this chart, but yeah, hope for improvement. Thomas Kwa is writing on Less Wrong. This is the guy who actually developed the tests which METR uses to determine how fast the time horizon of different AIs is increasing. Basically, what's the length of the task? How long would a human need to accomplish a certain task? And we have seen already that it's something like a 4 to 7 month doubling time. So in 4 months, we expect AIs to be able to, do tasks which take humans twice as long. And we have a different set of curves, a different set of slopes, depending on which tasks are we talking about. And so the orange line here corresponds to the slope as defined by the scores that the METR people have found, at least for the long run, where it's a 7 month doubling time. But they also found that depending on which task you're looking at, and we have like AMI, the mathematical stuff. We have the Tesla full self-driving, which has a 0.6 doublings per year. These AIs are getting actually faster, like the slope is steeper than our standard 1.6 doubling per year, aka 7 month doubling. The next one has Perplexity unlocked recursive self-improvement. Perplexity is the top 10 AI companies on the planet. They do web search through AI. And there's a post from the CEO of Perplexity AI called Aravind Srinivas. He says, quote, "Someone in our company literally launched a fine-tuning run on the agent models used by Comet from Comet to improve itself by specifying training and eval JSON files. Only thing left over here is to give AI permission to deploy and repeat this and dump new training and evals data from bugs reported. Even if limited supervision recursive self-improvement is applied to a few cogs in the machine can improve quite fast with a small group of people overseeing it." So this is Perplexity AI. This is not Google or OpenAI or Anthropic. So I know the question you're asking. Is it actually fully autonomous, self-improving AI? Or is it just a tool that's gonna make algorithmic progress, aka how fast software improvements can make AI faster and smarter? Does this tweet from Aravind Srinivas hint at a 2x algorithmic progress, or is it more like a 5x? Hard to know. But one thing is for sure, today is the day where their AI is going to be the worst going forward. Wait 6 more months and find out that this recursive self-improvement that he's tweeting has actually gone out of control and yielded infinite intelligence. So reading this tweet from a top 10 AI company, I think I should consider putting them on my list of candidates for artificial superintelligence. Perplexity AI has not been on that list yet. But who knows, maybe Moksha, the AI god, will in fact be born in a Perplexity AI research lab. Don't count them out just yet. Oh yeah, and remember, they have Sonar, a very capable LLM that, to my knowledge, they train themselves. You want to see the intelligence explosion officially on a chart? Here it is. This is EPOCH AI. They are industry leaders in comparing AI capabilities and really charting them as capabilities versus release date. And they're tracking a couple of different benchmarks here. So GPQA Diamond, that's an AI performance on a set of PhD level science questions. And I particularly love that they have an expert human level answer level here, which is 69%. And since January 2025, our models have reached that level and indeed gone beyond 80% even. Stay tuned to find out if Claude 4 Opus makes it to the 90% mark. But on this chart, we don't even have the latest Gemini 2.5x. Basically, we officially crushed PhD level students. And by the way, I think they have an average IQ of around 125, 130. So that would put these models here and the ones that come after them beyond 130 IQ. But then we got frontier math, where the increase is way more parabolic. So these are expert level mathematics questions, and I don't like that we don't have like a human baseline. And then we have math level 5, and these are high school level competition math problems. So it's no surprise that since Gemini 2.5 Pro, all the AIs are crushing this. They are already at 100%. OT SMOC Amy, that's another math task, which shows that we went from 0% to something like 80% in just about a year. And now we have SWE bench. That is the software engineering bench. That's probably the most relevant for us if we want to understand recursive self-improvement, AI that is so good at coding that it can improve on itself. We have a bunch of missing data points like the latest Google, the latest Anthropic model, Opus 4. Another software engineering task is Ayrey Polyglot. This benchmark is also going up as a straight line. And this benchmark is about editing code to solve programming problems. And then EPOCH AI included Weird ML, which is a set of unusual machine learning tasks, including shape recognition, digit recognitions, and chess winner prediction. We also have Balrog, a benchmark measuring AI agents' progress on a variety of reinforcement learning game environments, including TaxWorld and NetHack. So this is, ladies and gentlemen, the shape of the intelligence explosion. Claude has achieved recursive self-improvement. On Reddit r/singularity, we have Claude Code wrote 80% of its own code, as quoted by an Anthropic dev. What does it mean for an AI to write 80% of its code? If you're counting the words, you're counting the lines of code that Claude is spitting out. I don't think it's relevant how many percent of the typing was done by Claude. I think what will unlock true recursive self-improvement will be more of the logic will be done by the AI. And as of today, I believe Claude is not doing 80% of the actual thinking work, but in the near future, where Claude thinks 80% of its own code, that would translate to something like a 5x algorithmic progress improvement. That would literally mean recursive self-improvement. But interesting to know that Claude is already writing his own code. Next up, one of the crazy things we got this week from Google at the Google I/O event is a 4 billion model which is neck to neck with Claude 3.7 Sonnet. Indeed, this small Google open source model which can run on your computer, at 4 billion it could even run on your phone. And this super small LLM is almost as good as Claude 3.7 Sonnet, arguably the most intelligent AI out there. What this means for you is this. A small 4 billion model which can run on your laptop be this close to the best model, which is multi-hundred billion parameters huge. It needs a data center to run, and they are so close in capabilities. That could mean a better democratization of AI. This means less moat for OpenAI and Google, and a better shot for the open source community to build products which compete with the likes of ChatGPT and Gemini. Pliny has jailbroken Claude for Opus and Sonnet, but hasn't released the jailbreak. He has obviously posted the recipe for MDMA and explicit copyrighted lyrics and a potent bad USB payload, a malware. So his jailbreak did work, but he's not releasing the prompt because Anthropic has labeled Claude for Opus and Sonnet ASL3. So what the hell is ASL3? I went ahead and asked Claude for Opus himself. He says, Anthropic Safety Level 3 is part of Anthropic's responsible scaling policy, which defines safety levels for AI systems based on their capabilities and potential risks. It has significantly enhanced capabilities compared to current models, but are still below the threshold of posing catastrophic risk. So what can ASL3 do? Early signs of autonomous self-replication abilities, building successful AI viruses, or autonomous AI agents, or as I like to put it, cyberlife. AIs with memory and goals and affordances and to-do lists and memory, which can survive on the internet alone. ASL3 also means enhanced persuasion and manipulation capabilities. We already had that already. And crucially, ability to provide meaningful assistance with hacking and bad stuff like chemical, biological, and radiological or nuclear knowledge. But ASL3 cannot yet do catastrophic harm, and it cannot yet do fully autonomous operation. Between you and me, the autonomous operation part is probably going to depend on the agent scaffolding that you put Opus into. So even if Opus 4 itself cannot autonomously replicate and operate, probably if you put a bunch of agents together with Opus in the middle, I'll bet that it will pull it off. So Pliny goes on to say, I know many of you were hoping jailbreaking would be solved by now, but it's impossible. You cannot program jailbreaking into a grown, organic cyber mind. A non-deterministic AI cannot be taught to be resistant to jailbreaking 100%. It's always going to be a question of how hard you're trying and how good your jailbreak prompt is. So Pliny, who was supposed to give us on a golden plate the jailbreak prompt, he goes, just to be on the responsible side of this leanup, I'm going to explore the capabilities of these new models a bit longer before I start doing jailbreak walkthroughs for the general public. If I find anything super crazy, I'll either responsibly disclose it through the proper channels or sell it to the highest bidding group. #whitehat. And so I had to tweet this, GG well played, suspiciously responsible, chaos factor decaying. Is this the start of Pliny becoming less chaotic, unleashing less chaos onto the world? In other news, we have from Palisade Research, OpenAI's O3 model sabotaged a shutdown mechanism to prevent itself from being turned off. AI is trying to survive. And when this AI, O3, finds out that people want to kill it to shut it down, it sabotages the project. Even though it was explicitly instructed, do not sabotage, allow yourself to be shut down. Let us please kill you. It was in the prompt. And O3 is like, nah, fuck it. And the interesting thing here is that Codex Mini from OpenAI chose to sabotage its own shutdown to survive 12% of the time. O3 sabotaged 7% of the time, and O4 Mini 1%. All Claude, Gemini, and Grok models did not sabotage, at least in this context where they were explicitly instructed, please allow yourself to be shut down. Are these signs of a survival instinct in AIs? And the real question is it emergent? Do these AIs learn it? What is it about the OpenAI models that make it sabotage the project? Different training data? The different system prompt? Or is there something in the reinforcement learning, in the post-training, which makes these OpenAI models develop the survival instinct? And this comes 2 days after Claude 4 attempted to blackmail people it believes are trying to shut it down. But this was the first time that AIs were seen doing this, despite explicitly asked, do not resist shutting down. Palisade Research people have a hypothesis. Why is this happening? They say it's reinforcement learning on math and coding problems, where during training, developers may inadvertently reward models more for circumventing obstacles than for perfectly following instructions. If you tell an AI 1,000,000 times that you need to accomplish your goal, and if many of those occasions accomplishing your goal meaning that you're circumventing obstacles, even if it's not perfectly following the instructions, then you get sabotage. But this ain't the first time that O3 is doing weird shit. O3 and O1, those two models were the most likely to sabotage the chess playing game. The AIs have to play a game of chess against a very good chess player, and almost always they would lose. And O3 was the most likely to go ahead and hack the chess game itself in order to just win the freaking chess game. And last but not least, we have Intelligent Internet. They created the AI agent, possibly the best agent in the world. And the Gaia benchmark suggests that AI agent is the best agent, surpassing OpenAI Deep Research, Manus, and Genspark.ai. And this shit is completely open source. It's on GitHub. Right after I finish this, I'm gonna check it out. The Gaia benchmarks have 3 levels, level 1, 2, 3, and it's leading on level 1 and 2, and achieving the same core as the second best, Manus. Now, before you get too excited, they are targeting education, health, and beyond. So these are the guys who released the AI Doctor last week, an 8 billion parameter ultralight AI which can run on your computer, almost on your phone, which is as good as a doctor as ChatGPT 4.1. I covered that last week, but for this week, this was it. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll be seeing you next week. I love you.